Welcome to the first episode of the RETSY Podcast, where real estate meets real stories. I'm Matthew Morrison, designated broker and founding partner of RETSY. My co-host and brother, Chris Morrison, the founder of RETSY, is joining me today. On this episode, we're going to do a deep dive into Chris and I's background, and we're going to talk about all things real estate on this podcast. So whether you're an agent, an investor, or just curious about the industry, this is the podcast for you. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the story of RETSY. And so, we're obviously fast forwarding quite a bit from the Century 21 days. What inspired you to start RETSY, and how did it come about?
Well,
All right, man, we're finally doing a podcast.
You've been talking about this forever.
I know. Well, I feel like, I've done a podcast before. This is my second podcast.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
You did
I did the
GeoFarm one?
Well, it wasn't technically GeoFarm. It was Chime after GeoFarm sold to Chime.
That's right.
For that little 6-month stint I worked at Chime, I ran a little podcast. I think we recorded 12 episodes, and they recorded one without me, and then it died. That might still be out there on the internet somewhere. I have no idea. I haven't looked in a while.
I'm going to Google it, look it up.
Ringing the Sales, I think is what we called it.
Long history with the Morrison brothers, right?
Yeah, exactly. Long history with that.
What do you want to start with?
Well, how I want this podcast to be formatted, kind of my idea for this is we're going to interview all the top producers at RETSY. We have so many. We have such a robust lineup. Kind of like that podcast I did at Chime. The idea was Chime had so many great clients across the country, the top producers in different markets. We could bring them on as guests on the podcast, and that was kind of the idea there.
Yeah, just share some of their experience, share what works for them in their business. I mean, there's just so much that's put in front of our eyes and thrown down our throats and shoved in our emails that, says this is what you should be doing. But, I mean, realistically, you need to look at who's kicking ass and taking names and learn what they're doing and follow what they're doing.
No, exactly. And that was kind of the idea. And so I have a few questions that I want to make sure we always ask everybody. So it's just you and me today, but I'm going to ask you the questions anyways.
All right, before we start, though, I got to show you these.
Oh.
You like these?
Oh, yeah.
I officially have glasses.
Yeah.
So just to kind of give you a little heads up, if your last name's Morrison and you turn 43, your left eye is going to get a little blurry whenever you're reading stuff up close, right? Which these are great, but they don't tell you that you can't see anything past 10 feet. So I'm just trying to give you a heads up, because I have that year or two head start. There's other ailments I can clue you into with having the same last name as me that are going to hit you, but I don't want to scare you, especially not in a podcast.
The funny thing about that is when I got my LASIK eye surgery, because I wore contacts for a number of years and got LASIK right before we had the kids.
Yeah.
And on my 1-year follow-up, the doctor was like, everything looks great. You have perfect vision, and you're going to be great forever. You're never going to need readers. And I was like, what? Really? Like, I never need readers? He's like, yeah, as long as you die before you're 45. And I was like, oh, perfect. Okay, good to know.
Yeah, no, it was kind of a shock to me. I just thought I was having, issues focusing, but it turns out my left eye was just blurry. That's awesome. Doctor slid the little slide. He's like, how's that? And I'm like, I'm cured. Give me the glasses.
You fixed it.
I'm like,
So, I want to run through these questions with kind of the idea is everyone we sit down with, we want to kind of ask this a couple of the same questions to get a baseline. And then, every agent's different. Obviously, we can talk about different specialties or topics or markets. But I think the most obvious question for a real estate podcast is, what did you do before real estate? I know you started young. So
yes.
It's, this shouldn't be a super, detailed history, but just share with everybody. I mean, I know, but tell everybody else what you did before.
Well, I mean, if you can remember, I got my real estate license right before I turned 19. I was working at a commercial print shop. It was such a great education. And they're still in business, Courier Graphics. But I was young. They took a gamble on me in commercial printing sales. And I was so fortunate to learn different types of marketing and going into design firms and sitting in on strategy sessions. I just really learned advertising and marketing, but my heart was in real estate. I mean, just that whole process and helping clients through everything. I actually did both for a while, and I had to make a really tough decision. I'll always remember when Larry, my manager at Courier Graphics, sat me down and said, "Hey, we realize you're doing both. You got to pick. You're crushing it at print sales. I don't know what you're doing in real estate," but he didn't realize that, like, at that time we were just crushing it in real estate sales. If I had to choose based on lifestyle, experience, and income, I chose real estate. As much as I loved commercial printing, it was a no-brainer for me. So I actually did the first thing in history that they've ever seen. I made sure all my clients stayed with that company, and I transitioned out of it. Because usually in print sales, like, they just go to another company or sell their book of business. Yeah. But I did the right thing, and went into full-time real estate sales.
That's awesome. So what inspired you to get into real estate?
Buying my first house at 18. Loved the whole process. I was taking classes over at ASU West, actually going for a pre-law degree. I had this whole checklist they give you in college back at that time. There was no apps and all that stuff. And I was just checking through the classes because I'd taken a lot of them while I was in high school. But one of the prerequisites was Real Estate 101, Real Estate 202. I really enjoyed it. And buying my own house at 18, I really enjoyed that process. And I realized, I really like this. And, it's just tough because, our dad, it's education, this and that. It was I don't know that I ever had the conversation and told him, hey, I'm just going to do this. I already know what I want to do. Why do I have to get a degree, right? Our dad was cool enough to understand that I was pretty passionate about it.
He's like a serial entrepreneur himself. I'm surprised he's been retired for over a year. I think you and I both lost on the under on that. Thought he'd be doing something else by now.
I'm sure he is. Well, he wrote a book.
Yeah,
so there's that.
Yeah, he didn't tell us about that.
But that said, it's that whole process. I fell in love with it. I'm I got to do it. So I got my real estate license, and I did what everybody did back in, 2001? It's you hung your license with Century 21 and worked your way towards a gold jacket.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you ever get a gold jacket?
No, I didn't.
So can you share the first big break or big deal that made you realize you can succeed in the business? I know you explained you had that sit down with Larry at Courier on you need to choose and pick a path here. Yeah. But was there anything, it could have came before that, or did it come after it where you realized wow, I can really crush it at this?
So I was in the Century 21 office. It was in Glendale. I was working out of Sun City and Surprise, that's where we lived and that's where we worked. And I was taken aside by a gentleman named Frank Ward. He was really good to me. He's look, here's the deal. You're young, you're new, you're hungry, but you're not going to sell anything without guidance, and I need your help at an open house. So I'm going to show you how to do it. We're going to sit down, and Frank just kind of took me through, what did you need to do to work to earn business? How do you need to do this process and to set up search? Well, there was no setting up searches. Everything was in a gigantic book, and how to look up, what do we call that? The book?
I'm not that old, so I don't know.
Yeah, there's just this MLS. Book of listing and pages and stuff. And the MLS was just going on to computers at that time. So luckily I had a quick learning curve, but he just showed me what to do, and he was so good to me. And, I earned my first few commissions there, and it really just kind of gave me insight that I can make a great living doing this. I help people through look at real estate, right? What is it? New babies, marriage, divorce, death, empty nesters, upsizing, downsizing,
relocation,
acceleration of career and income, deceleration of career and income, retirement. We deal with the most difficult decisions in people's lives with their most valuable asset. And I loved it. I loved that people would put their trust in me to do that. And I never took that for granted. Still to this day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. It's some of the most rewarding work you can do.
Yep.
So let's talk about the story of RETSY. And so, we're obviously fast forwarding quite a bit from the Century 21 days. What inspired you to start RETSY, and how did it come about?
Well, some very, very difficult decisions caused RETSY to happen, and I'm forever grateful that they took place in my life, even though they were very stressful at the time. So, you remember, you were with me. We had our own independent brokerage, Morrison Residential, and it was a great brokerage. So keep in mind, I was a part of a really large coaching organization, still super grateful to Tom Ferry. Got him as a coach and had his coaches as coaches early in my career. That's what guided me through. I mean, the secret to real estate is if you want to be successful, you have to find that person to mentor you. And if you can't, you got to pay a coach to mentor you. Yeah. And it guided me through a process that helped evolve my career to where I was. So after doing that, I believe I coached for 5 or 6 years, and I was in that organization, I think, for over 10 years, and just spent a lot of money, time, travel, just learning from the best, coaching the best, collaborating, doing masterminds with the best people all over the nation, all over the world. I mean, we had a coaching client in Dublin, and he crushed it there. Yeah. Do you remember him?
I do. So, oh, man.
You sat in on a lot of those coaching calls, dude.
I'm trying to remember his name. It's
it'll
Bart.
Come to us. Bart from Dublin, yeah.
Bart from Dublin.
But I mean, it's just like when you see these top producers, you see what they're doing, and you take what they're doing in their business or their mindset, and you do that little tweak that helps move them to that next level. Or, the client that was basically like living out of his car and went to a top producing agent. You know who? I'm not going to say his name on this. Yeah. He knows who.
Yeah.
But that said, it's just like that was also really rewarding for me. So I love the idea of the brokerage, and that's when I started to build up our team. And then another brokerage started here in the Valley. Can we say their name? They're not even a thing anymore.
You already said Century 21, so I was going to say no names, but we've broken that rule.
One of my good friends came to me and was like, "Hey, we're starting a brokerage called Launch, and what do you think? And I got to have you introduce you to the main owner." And I'm like, "Okay, well let's check it out." And it was a great concept. It's like, let's bring in the top producers, let's bring in tech, let's bring something to the market that nobody's ever seen before. And at the beginning, it really was great. I mean, we had some great producers coming over. There's a lot of collaboration. But then over time, there's just really no tech and no support, no collaboration, no graphic designers. And I think I got a little stagnant in the relationship. As much as I loved the partners of the company and the agents we had, I mean, I would do everything in my power to like show them how to do a Facebook ad at the time and just stuff that was like life-changing to their business. I'd spend time doing it. But I think after about 5 years, I just kind of realized like, hey, this is not going to progress. I mean, you can only go so long with just the logo, right? You got to put some people in place. I mean, we didn't even have a graphic designer. And I think at that time we had like 300 agents. I'm like, what are we doing, right? So we had one main guy that is the only one I really didn't get along with there, but loved all my partners there. But they were just constantly leaning on the title company for everything, So I mean, still to this day, a lot of brokerages do that. But I'm like, why should you lean on the title company for everything? I mean, title companies are a great complement to marketing and helping agents and stuff, but like you shouldn't lean on them for everything. So him and I got in a heated conversation, I'm going to say. And I just kind of decided at that point, like, I'm done. Talked to my team. I'm like, hey, we're going to start a brokerage, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to call it RETSY. We're going to bring in tools, tech, support, hire graphic designers, and just bring a brokerage to the market that people would look to aspire to be a part of, right? And attract the right agents. And my team was 100% on board, no outliers. So, that said, we started RETSY with my team, and then we just slowly started to attract some really, really great agents and top producing agents. And we set the standards really high for entry. I mean, we look to agents to sell at least $10 million in business and have a very good reputation. And, sometimes we make exceptions for somebody that sells less, knowing that if they could do the tool, if they utilized our tools, they could do what we expect out of them. And what we found is if you give an agent, 2 full-time graphic designers, a technology person, an agent concierge, tons of support, and then sprinkle a little bit of title company love on top of that in the way of marketing and support, it's like we saw our agents have explosive growth. And people, I mean, they paid attention, right?
Yeah.
We don't have a recruiter, nor will we ever have a recruiter at RETSY, right? Can I go on record and say that?
You can.
Like I talked to a TV personality, I'm going to call him. He's like, oh, we're coming into the Arizona market, and I already hired my recruiter. And I'm like, wait, like your first hire was a recruiter?
Yeah.
Like you don't even realize it, but in the luxury market, you have already failed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if you do a really good job for your agents and you market well and you bring them tools and you give them support and assets, like, Matthew's an amazing DB and a great attorney to be able to call anytime you have a situation and give them all the marketing, like they'll tell other agents and you'll attract that business, right?
Yep.
And that's how we've grown without having a recruiter. It's just attracting the right agents, right? And we don't really have a growth goal. It's just if the agent's a right fit and they fit into our culture, they will get a lot from RETSY and RETSY will benefit from them. It's just like we bring them in the fold. And I think it's the perfect formula. A lot of people will look at RETSY as like, oh, they got a bunch of tools, but they don't realize like it's the recipe, right? Yeah. You can have all the ingredients in the world. I can lay them all out on the table, but you don't know how to make that amazing dish that chef just prepared. And that's how I look at RETSY is like, our partners at RETSY, they understand the recipe.
Yep.
So that was the natural evolution. So no regrets whatsoever. Loved everything I did in the previous companies. But RETSY was just, that was the masterpiece. We finally put together a brokerage with, an outstanding reputation with agents that lead in the market. You and I see this, like every single brokerage has a couple big hitters with them. But within RETSY, you look around the room and like everybody in that room is a major player in the markets that they sell in. And this, every RETSY roundup, what do I make them do? Look around the room, right?
Everybody
pay attention. There isn't like two big hitters in the room. There's several. So, and I think that the way we collaborate and the way the partners share so much with them, it just makes everybody better. You're on RETSY Connect. You see those groups whenever somebody asks for something. Within seconds, people respond with rebuttals or how to help them or here's this vendor or what do you think on this? And I know partners will call and reach out to them. So, there's just no brokerage like that.
No, it's like a big family. It really is. And I know that's cliche and I know it's probably overused, but I really feel that that's true. Yeah. Like it is like a big family.
Yeah. We're a team. Everybody works really hard to win in this market. So, and like think about this market right now. At the time we're recording this, we have a 10-year high of inventory, right? Which typically, that would make an agent kind of be turned off, right? They're like, oh gosh, well, that's why stuff isn't selling or this and that. But it's like, for me, I'm excited because like now, people can't just go out and hire their nanny's dog walker that just got a real estate license that'll do it for $990 because like they need agents that know what they're doing, that have killer marketing tools and are with a brokerage will help market their listings. This is the market RETSY's going to thrive in, right? Yeah. Give me more inventory. Now it's like a buyer can go out and it's not like it's this or bust. It's like they have 5 homes to pick from and they have a RETSY agent representing them to negotiate the best deal. Right?
Yeah.
And then the sellers on those listings that have RETSY agents on those listings, they have the best agents representing them. I've watched negotiations swing $1 million in one direction because of the experience of a RETSY agent. In fact, saw it last week. So I'm excited about inventory going up, where a lot of people are freaking out.
Yeah.
Well, what are your thoughts on that?
I can tell you from the broker's desk, I have never been busier. I'm not going to say the date, but it's going to be our best month ever. It already is. It already is our best month ever as a company. And there's still a lot pending that's supposedly closing in the next few days. So, you know how that goes, though. Things can get pushed into next month. Maybe stuff falls out of contract. But we're extremely busy as a brokerage. So, knowing inventory's high, under contracts are low, but RETSY's doing well, and it's because of our agents. It's because we have basically exclusively experienced agents that know how to succeed in every market.
Well, and I also look at that too. You as a broker, can you imagine if you're the broker of one of these companies that has like 4,000 agents right now? Just the questions you get from people that, it's not hard to get a real estate license out there. The reality is like, can you imagine? I can't. And when you have like agents that have 12, 15 years of experience that, sell $30, $40 million a year calling you with a question, usually it's a serious question.
95% of the time, it absolutely is. And of those times, a lot of times they know the answer. They just want to hear me say, "Yep, that's right." Mm-hmm. That's a part of it. I'm not answering a whole lot of when's my bins are due questions. That I imagine somebody with 4,000 agents of half brand new licensees have never done a deal. That's probably the majority of the questions.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's usually when I get called, it's serious. It's a big problem. I'll give you a for instance. So we had a deal that was supposed to close Tuesday.
Okay.
It didn't. Cash deal, earnest money's non-refundable, and we were waiting on an HOA demand. HOA was slow in getting title. The demand is a pretty quick closing, I think 10 or 14 days, but HOA was dragging their feet, so we weren't able to close. We had to extend closing to Friday. Wednesday, the listing agent gets a call from the neighbor that the buyer has started construction. Dropped off a 40-yard dumpster, started ripping out carpets and doors, and started demoing the house. We haven't closed yet. So those are the calls I get. So those are the problems I usually get to deal with.
Yeah, isn't that destruction of property?
Well, yeah, no, it's a felony. It's breaking and entering and vandalism. I mean, I guess it could be a felony. It depends on the value of what was vandalized. But yeah, it's a crime. They don't own that house yet. I mean, I don't think there was any ill intent. I think essentially what happened is the buyer failed to notify their contractor that the closing had been changed. Buyer signed the addendum to extend closing, but
don't worry, I'm going to bail you out of jail, contractor.
Yeah.
Forget the first deposit; it's going to be bail money.
yeah, exactly. So, but that deal did close. That's the only reason I'm talking about it, because now all's good because we did close on the transaction, and I guess no harm, no foul. But obviously, if they didn't, that would go a very different way, and the buyer would be writing a very, very big check, and who knows what else. But yeah, those are the problems, and I find that fun. Like,
I mean, you could probably write a book of like just stuff that happens. I mean, we could do a whole episode on that.
We could.
So a lot of people are probably wondering, it's like, all right, are you the broker of RETSY because you're Matthew Morrison, or that whole story? So do you want me to tell it, or do you want to tell it?
I want to tell it from my side of the story and see if I can get a straight answer out of you on something. So
probably not going to happen, but go ahead.
So I mean, we learned Chris's background. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of share mine a little bit. Like Chris, I was licensed really young. I got licensed at 19. I was obviously inspired to get into real estate because of Chris. He's a little older than me, so I've always had a path that I can follow, and that's why I got licensed. Before real estate, I mean, obviously I was pretty young. I was a butcher. I worked at AJ's Fine Foods in DC Ranch when they opened that in the meat department. I worked at Discover Card. I worked in fraud prevention, and I absolutely loved that job. And I did real estate and Discover Card for about 3 years. No, 2 years. It was 2 years. I did both for 2 years, and I absolutely loved that job in fraud prevention. Like, it was just something about it, and fraud investigations. And I think that's why I enjoy being a broker. It's just kind of like the detail and looking at the contract. It's sometimes I get to put on my investigator hat and kind of try and figure out why or how something happened. But essentially, at one point in 2011, I realized I'm making more money in real estate than I am at Discover Card. This is silly. I shouldn't be chasing two dogs here. We need to just go ahead and jump full into real estate. And at that time, you'd obviously already had your own brokerage, Morrison Residential. That's where I hung my license when I got licensed.
As if you had a choice.
Yeah, exactly. And you just bought the Campbell Avery building, 32nd Street Indian School, back in 2011. I actually think it was Halloween of 2011 that we had this talk. And, I decided I was going to go full-time real estate, help you negotiate short sales. I mean, that was how I cut my teeth in the business.
That's a fun time to jump in the market.
Yeah. 2009 to 2012, 13. I mean, it was a lot of short sales and a lot of foreclosures, a lot of showing homes in the West Valley that have been completely vandalized and AC units stolen. And, I've even seen like copper wire torn out of the walls. I mean, it was pretty weird market. So in 2011, went full-time real estate. We did a ton of short sales. We worked with a big residential REIT that owned like 1,500 homes here.
God, I almost forgot about them. Did you forget
about them? Yeah. Well, I didn't because...
Purposely, probably.
Yeah, exactly. In a period of 12 months, do you remember how many leases we wrote in a period of 12 months for them?
I remember they called us and they're like, hey, you're going to get an award. I'm like, for what? And they're like, #1 leasing agent in the nation. And I was like, No, not going.
No.
They're like, this is a big award. I'm like, don't care. Give it to the other guy.
Yeah. So,
oh yeah,
do you remember?
Yeah, because I had a good friend. Like he took a job with this company and called me. He's like, "Hey, we found like 400 homes they didn't even know they owned. Like, how quick can you get them leased out?" I'm like, and we built a team.
Yeah,
like, that's what we did. We built a team and got it all set. I mean, like I look at every challenge like, hey, yeah, like let's figure out a solution, and if we can make a little profit and do a good job for the client, I mean, there's a lot of upside there. Yeah.
No, we built a team, we built a system, we made it happen. I believe the number was like 612
leases in a year.
In a year, I mean, on average 2 a day.
Yeah.
I mean, and we were listing them. We weren't just writing the leases. So when you hear that number, you got to remember we got to take photos. We got to put a sign in the yard. We got to put a lockbox on. We got to put in the MLS.
Well, keep in mind, we were the only brokerage at that time that actually took rental listings and did like marketing plans behind them with good photography and like actual showings, and like nobody was doing it like that. I'm like, what if we did it like this?
Yeah.
I mean, we'd have to charge you guys a little bit more, but what if we did it the right way?
Yeah.
And I mean, and think about that. That company went public because, I mean, we pushed rents up, and like negotiated higher leases for them. And
Yeah. So that was a really fun like chapter in my real estate career. And then you started Geographic Farm.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And so Chris started a real estate marketing company that basically did farming for real estate agents on autopilot, or as I like to say when I was selling it, fighter pilot.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to think about it as the agent. They got designed, got emailed the proof, you approved it, it got mailed out to your farm, and it just kind of happened. And I think we need to actually...
We got to pin Geo Farm for a conversation later because I want you to finish.
Yeah. And so, Tom Ferry, who Chris mentioned, was a partner in that company. Mm-hmm. And I took a break from regular real estate and selling homes to go and run sales for Geographic Farm. Do you remember how that happened?
I have a feeling like you saved my ass on something.
I did. So
you remember dates and exact details.
I do. I have a good
my
memory.
mind can't. Yeah.
So how I got involved in that was you had a sales guy. I had nothing to do with that company.
His name was Tom.
Yeah,
I remember that.
You had a sales guy named Tom, and you guys had a big conference at a Tom Ferry event in Palm Desert. And it's like the first show you guys were going to, and Tom was supposed to be there to run the booth, and he let you know like the day before that he's not going to be there. And so Chris calls me up and is like, hey, do you want to go to Palm Desert and sling postcards? And I was like, what? Where is Palm Desert? I didn't even know. And then you hooked me because you're like, Gary Vaynerchuk's going to be there.
Oh,
and
Gary
he's
V.
speaking. And at the time, Gary V was the man. He's still the man. But
Still the man.
But he was my idol at the time. And so you're like, Gary V's going to be there. I was like, all right, I'll go. And you know what? I had so much fun at that event. Chris's wife, Kelly, and I ran the booth for the day, and we absolutely crushed it. We signed up a bunch of agents, and I realized I'm really good at this because I am an agent, and I'm selling to agents who understand the pain points, and I can see around the corners and can just easily explain it to them what they want to know. And so that was a lot of fun. And you and I had a conversation. I took a break from real estate and ran sales for Geographic Farm for 3 years. And during that time, I got to go to a ton of Tom Ferry events.
I was going to say, like, people think they know Tom Ferry. I'm like, Matthew knows Tom Ferry. Every phrase, every detail that gets regurgitated at every single event.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Not in a bad way. Like,
yeah.
A lot of what he brought to the table is new and innovative, and the coaching scene had never seen it before. But yeah, you've been in that. You've sat in on so many coaching calls, and yeah,
and
that's an education that people can spend millions of dollars on and still never get.
I like to say I got my PhD in real estate over those years because I got to go to, when I say every event, not just the, hey, we're selling coaching packages or we're selling tickets to this events. I got to go to the masterminds of, the coaches who are doing like the higher end programs, small intimate groups of, 50 to 100 of the best agents in the country. And that was awesome.
Do you remember the night on credit card roulette where your card got pulled?
Yes, I do.
Oh God, who was that? I mean, there was probably like 18 of us at that dinner at a very expensive restaurant, and I don't know why these top producers, they love to play this credit card roulette game. So of course Matt and I are there, and like we're going and everything, and they're putting the credit cards in the hat, and like the credit card roulette, they pulled your credit card.
Yeah.
That was We did a little swap though. You weren't responsible for dinner.
Yeah, Chris helped me out and bailed me out on that.
But I mean, like that mastermind dinner alone. I mean, think about who we met.
Oh,
yeah. So that then ties into your education, because it's like you're not your typical broker that rolled out of bed and started being a broker for a company because you read the law book, right?
Yeah. No, exactly. And so it kind of gets to the question I've asked you a few times, but I wanted to ask again for the record now that we have audio and video recording. But so after Geographic Farm, they sold to Chime. I started my own brokerage, ran that for a few years. And then Chris calls me after about a month after he started RETSY, and I don't know if it was. And he asked the famous recruiter's question, if you will. Who do you know that's a good designated broker?
It's not a recruiter's question. That's an attraction question.
So who do you know that does exactly what you do, Matt? And
that's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
So the question I have for you is, were you calling to ask me without asking me, or were you calling to really just get a referral?
I just wanted to see how you answered the question, dude.
Not going to answer. Not going to answer.
I mean, RETSY was taken off. I was the DB by default, and like I needed to find out who's good out there. I reached out to a bunch of people that I knew in the industry, and you being one of them, of like who's good out there and like who would throw their hat in the ring. I was like maybe 25%. I mean, because your company was growing and you guys were doing a great job. I mean, Matt was with a company that's called Boomerang, and they had some tech and lead generation, and had some good producing agents, some that are still agents at RETSY now.
That's right.
And crushing. But yeah, I think I asked the question with the intention of like, I'd like to attract you over to it, but also your family, and I don't want to like force you into anything you didn't want to do, but I needed somebody.
Yeah.
And Matthew's known to rescue me when I need people.
Well, and the timing couldn't have been better, because I was, we were doing great, but I was a competing broker. I was out there selling still, and I was working my ass off. Mm-hmm. I think a period of 42 days, I put in just every day, 42 days, not a day off. And the reality is if I wasn't selling, then the brokerage wasn't going to make any money.
Yeah.
We were starting to recruit some agents and make a little bit of headway there, but the timing was just so perfect because I had my first son on the way. Beckham was about to be born about 6 weeks before we'd had this conversation. And, I sat down with Jennifer and was like, hey, I hate to give up on a company that I started just 3 years ago because I feel like it's too early. But I also had already met with Chris and talked about RETSY and saw and knew exactly where this is going to go. And it was a pretty easy choice, actually. And here we are.
So would you say we didn't recruit you, we more or less attracted you?
Yes.
No, I mean, Matthew,
sure.
Obviously within RETSY, I have some partners and advisory people that, I lean on, so I'm not making unilateral decisions. I had another company I was at where one guy would just make these unilateral decisions that was never good for the company, never get any input. So it's like, all right, advisory board, meet with Matt, tell me what you think, honestly. Like, take the last name off. Honestly, if I would have had him meet you and never gave him your last name, like, you still would have been hired 3 times over. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah. And then also, look at how you've grown into this role. And Matt's one of the most respected brokers in the Valley. Like when, he speaks on stage, or what's this new thing you just joined with, like the Department of Real Estate or the board, or?
Oh, yeah, the Arizona Association of Realtors.
Yeah.
On a committee there for business and business communication and technology.
And not only that, but I wanted to make sure you were empowered, which is, we have a couple great attorneys and one attorney primarily that we lean on a lot.
100%.
Yeah. And you don't have to guess. We'll have the most heated situations between an agent, a seller, a buyer, this and that. And it's like, and we bring our attorney on the call and the attorney tells them exactly what they're going to do, how to do it. And I think that's why, we've done so well and we've never been involved in a lawsuit.
Well, I mean, besides the class action lawsuit in Arizona that we got named in, but
yeah, I've long forgotten about that by now. Lost
Yes.
a little sleep during that period of time, but that said, it's just like when you have good legal advice, good leadership, and a good DB, I mean, that's the premise of a brokerage. If you offered nothing else, that would be better than 95% of the brokerages out there. But then we sprinkle in everything else. So, yeah. But that's a great history on you.
Yeah.
So, and Matthew, like I get a lot of praises from like, he diffused this. He's got the best bedside manner, but you also know how to tell people, what's my favorite phase of yours? Like, so do you want me to tell you what you want to hear or do you want to hear what you need to do?
Do you want me to tell you what I think or what you want to hear?
Yeah. Cause, you just handle it so well. And also like, I mean, answering the phone at 9:00 at night, not that we're going to make that pattern of that, but just like diffusing situations. Cause when they happen, you don't want to sleep on it. Like you got to get an answer to your client. And that's where RETSY agents step up huge. So I know I have a personal friend, Scott, and we've done a lot of deals together. And it's just like whenever it gets hairy, he's like, let's get the attorney on the call. Let's get the attorney on the call. And it solidifies it for him because sometimes it is very complicated. I mean, it's real estate. There's 10,000 things that can go wrong to get one solid, good closing. And you have to, work through them. And that's why it's so important to hire experienced agents with good companies or agents on a team that have the experience backing them, right? And not the fly-by-night people.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's all sorts out there. And, it's very interesting, some of the things that we see.
Yeah.
From, never on our side, but some of the things I've seen on the other side of the transaction, missing Binzer deadlines and submitting the Binzers late.
Yeah.
I just told you about the story of somebody, vandalizing the home pre-closing because the closing got extended. I mean, there's...
Oh, we had that happen. I don't know if you remember that one in PV a couple of years ago where this lady, Brian and I were on this listing and we were set to close and we're doing the final walkthrough and I walk in and there's black marker everywhere. It says demo and all over the counters and this and that. And then I don't know why she got this crazy idea that she's like, well, she wanted to negotiate for more off the house or something like that. And I was just like, this is like vandalism.
Yeah.
And I think it was the attorney that's like, no, call the police and file a report. So we did.
Yeah.
And the PV police are amazing. Like he came out, he took a documented report, who did it? And he's like, how do you know she did it? And I'm like, well, it's on her Instagram. I showed the cop the Instagram. And he's like, well, okay. Yeah. He gave her a call and he's like, no, this is vandalism. Like, we're going to come meet you and you most likely will go to jail. Yeah. There's no rebuttal. And she called me freaking out. Like, how do I get, I'm like, we'll close on the house and I'm sure the seller will drop the charges, but the seller's really pissed off. You went in and marked up this house you don't own. Yeah. That's literally crazy. Yeah. Okay. And she's like, so I don't have any choice. I have to just close. I'm like, yeah. Well, no, you could go to jail. There's that. Yeah. Luckily she did pull her shit together and close within 3 days. And my seller was super happy. And he's just like, how did this, he's like, I've worked with a lot of agents, but nobody as creative as you guys in coming up with a way to get this resolved where everybody's happy. I'm like, well, she's not as happy as you, but she will be when she gets this house remodeled and on the market. So,
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, but it's just this is what experience brings to the table in real estate, you know, and there's a new situation and a new scenario every single day. But the great thing about RETSY is I can call any of the partners and bounce an idea off of them, right? Yeah. And they just answer the phone and they respond, and all of our agents have that. And, that's part of the recipe, right?
Yeah, exactly. So. And it just kind of goes back to that family culture, it truly is.
So we got about 10 minutes left. What do you want to cover?
So I have a couple questions that I have for you. So if you can go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice when you started, what would it be?
One piece of advice when I started, if I could go back in time. Are we talking about 18-and-a-half-year-old Chris?
Yeah.
Or?
Yep.
Yeah. Seek coaching, seek advice, find that kick-ass agent in the office that's dominating, and just do whatever it takes to mirror them, right? See what they do, how they do it, offer to work for free. I mean, everything I did as a new agent. I mean, shit, our own family wouldn't even use me my first 3 years in real estate. Remember when Dad's like, oh, I'm going to list with this agent. I've known her for years. And I'm like, I'm your son. I have a real estate license. But like, that was a hard lesson that I had to learn, where it's just like, like when you're new, like you have to get that experience. So find that person, mimic them, mirror them, learn everything they do, and then find the next person and find the next person and keep on learning. I mean, to this day, I still have great mentors that help me in business. I mean, we joke around with one of my good friends I play golf with every week, but like I look at it as kind of like a business therapy session. So he's, he always asks the question, how's everything going with RETSY? And I'll lay something on the table and he'll give me this amazing solution. Like last week we were talking about RETSY versus RETSY media and the right thing to do in business and to treat things and different things like that. It's just, you have to find those people in your life and attract them in your life that'll give you advice. So I would definitely do that and then be like, buy Bitcoin. Buy as much Bitcoin as you can, young Chris.
I think that time was a little like 10 years pre-Bitcoin.
There's going to be a thing called Bitcoin in 10 years. Buy it.
Buy as much as you can. So
if I get the same question for you, reverse it.
So if you could go back and if you can go forward in time 10 years?
You want to go forward this time?
Yeah. What would you tell yourself?
All right, you can turn your time machine whatever direction you want, Matt. Well, answer the same question, reversed.
For sure go back, and I think if, my career has been a little different because I've been a producer and I've, done other things related to real estate and as a broker, but, the audience of this podcast is probably going to be agents. And so
I think people that are generally interested in RETSY.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, maybe a majority agents.
I mean, back in early career, right, when I got licensed, I think my advice would have been keep a better database. That's my biggest regret is I was disorganized, did not have a good database. And it wasn't until Boomerang that I really figured that out and really kind of built a CRM. We use Chime, but having a good CRM really makes deals fall out of the sky.
So true.
I mean, like I wish I would have started that when I first started my career.
What do we tell our agents constantly? Like, here are the tools and here's why you want to use it. If you use one thing, I mean, we have technically 3 CRMs they can choose from now. Like, just pick one. Yeah. And like, that's the number one most valuable thing. When you go to retire out of this industry and you hire that person onto your team to take over your business, number one most important thing is your reputation good and will your past clients still call you for it? And then where are they? And are they organized to where that person can pick up and run with it? That's how you retire in real estate, is having a good database and having the reputation where, like, even with myself, I mean, I have past clients that will work with Chrissy or Steph or my team or Brian. I mean, anybody from my team, just based on the reputation and the experience they had the first time.
Yeah. No, exactly. So that would be my piece of advice to young Matthew is keep a better database.
That's a good one.
One of my favorite Tom Ferry-isms, if you will, is if you don't follow up with your clients, don't worry, somebody else will.
That's so true.
There's nothing worse than, and I actually had this experience with an agent the other day, kind of getting dialed in, set up on the CRM, and setting up a market snapshot to keep homeowners informed as to what's going on with their home values. And we go to pull up an address in Monsoon and see it's listed. And so, yeah. That's the worst feeling in the world, and I've had that happen to me a number of times, and too many times. And I think if I kept better,
well, this is why we did the ad software for RETSY with the agents. Is like
100%.
Everybody in your database. I mean, I have clients I honestly did not follow up like I should have that will call me out of the blue and like just out of the blue, like I have to look at their name in the phone and before I even answer, like look at the contact and remember who they are. Because they see the retargeting ads we do.
Yeah.
And we tell every one of our agents you should use the product. I mean, with our latest release of the new website and everything, I mean, it's automatically going to happen for them in the background. It's negotiated in our ad contract. So all their past clients will see their ads, and anybody who goes to their website will see their ads, so they're always top of mind. We're in a top of mind industry. If they haven't heard from you, seen an ad from you, heard from you on the phone, see you in the grocery store, you don't exist, right?
Yeah.
They're just going to call whoever the latest postcard was through the mail.
Yep.
I even see it on like $5-10 million homes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So you said you wanted to reverse the question. Did you say reverse the question? Like you wanted to ask me the question?
You answered it. Like, would you go in a time machine, forward, backwards, 10 years? What would you tell yourself? That's good advice.
Yeah.
Database.
And buy Bitcoin.
And buy Bitcoin.
Sure.
No, in 10 years from now.
Yeah. See,
Well,
that's
probably.
the interesting side. Is like, so you can go forward in 10 years in time and just ask yourself questions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, would you rather go 10 years back in time or 10 years forward in time? Would you rather go 10 years forward and ask yourself questions and then come back to the present?
In 10 years from now, I don't know that I could find myself on a river in Montana or Alaska. Like, I'd have to somehow have a geolocator.
Right.
All right. What else do we have? A couple more minutes.
So where do you see the Arizona market in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, gosh. We're in an exciting time. Obviously, I saw the market go up. I saw the short sale time frame. We've always been very fortunate to generate business and do business in both markets. Interest rates shot up. I mean, we saw COVID. We saw the bust of COVID and then the boom afterwards. I'm doing an addition on my house right now, and it's just like I'm watching these bids come in that are like double what they would have been like a few years ago. And I had one of my good friends I fly fish with all the time as a builder. He's like, dude, everything doubled in price since COVID. Just, stop being cheap and accept it. I'm like, thanks, bro.
Yeah.
But all things that I'm seeing, I do feel like there is a lot of population growth. I'm going to just specifically focus on Arizona. I do think there's a lot of people moving here, and there's a lot of incentives to move here. Yeah, we have hot summers, and sometimes they're unbearable, but most of the clients that we work with in RETSY and the higher end, they all have homes in other places and ways to escape to like Arcadia West, also known as Coronado. And Southern California. But I mean, like that said, it's just like I feel like the population growth is still going to be really strong into Arizona. I do feel like with all these companies coming here, like we're going to be the new Silicon Valley, right? Forget Silicon Valley in Northern Cal. It's like Arizona's going to be it. We have the TSMC plant. We have Facebook plant. We have, stuff that I know about that I probably shouldn't even know about coming to the Valley. And like those jobs are coming and those incomes are coming and those families are going to come and they need places to live, and I don't feel like we have enough homes. So I do feel like homes will continue to appreciate. Interest rates suck, and we still had a record year last year at RETSY, right? Yeah. But that said, our price points average is much higher than most brokerages. So we do deal with a lot of cash buyers, and that's why we did so well. But as interest rates start to taper back and people start to accept the norm of like, 6.5% is good or 7% is good, I do feel like the market is still going to continue to grow. Like, I still remember when I could buy gas for 88 cents a gallon. Like, you don't even remember that.
No, I do.
And it's just like, but the reality is everything's going to get more expensive. And I feel like the market's going to grow, and residential real estate's always been a safe investment. I mean, Kelly and I, we have our rentals, and it's just like, we were just kind of like smart enough to buy them and dumb enough never to sell them. Right, you just hold on to them forever, and rents just consistently go up. Even during the short sale days, right? I watched the value of my rentals go down hundreds of thousands of dollars, but at the same time, the rents went up. So to answer your question, I'm very bullish for the market. I feel like prices will continue to grow and increase, and demand will still be here in the right neighborhoods. That's why you need a really good real estate expert that knows their neighborhood to advise you, what are those neighborhoods? The neighborhood I live in, you can have a $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 swing in Delta street by street. So,
yeah. That's true. I agree. I'm super bullish as well. All the reasons you stated. I think we're really uniquely positioned with everything that's going on here, and I think it's going to be great. But you and I are both optimists, though. So
we are.
This is a disclaimer.
Yeah.
Morrison Brothers are optimists, but
I have a good friend that's waiting for the market to bust so he can buy a house. And I think I did call him right after COVID, and I have a reminder every year to call him and remind him how much money he's lost by renting. But,
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I told you so, people.
The mayor of I Told You Town. I love being the mayor of I Told You Town.
All right. Anything else you want to cover on this episode?
Yeah. So how do people connect with you personally after the podcast?
Okay, so my email address is chris@RETSY. It was available when we started the company, so I took it. CHRIS at RETSY.com. I'm not going to give my cell phone number out, but
Instagram?
At RETSY.
At RETSY?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of work that goes into that at RETSY. And obviously this year you guys are going to see there's just a lot more work that we're going to put into, some behind the scenes of RETSY. I mean, we show a lot of beautiful properties on there, but when you see what happens behind the scenes on every single listing that every one of our agents take that RETSY does, you're going to see more and more of me on there. So at RETSY on the Instagram and Chris at RETSY.com. Feel free to reach out to me. If you have my cell phone number, I prefer text, but yeah, I'm available.
Awesome. Cool, man. Let's wrap it up.
Thank you.
That wraps up this week's episode of the RETSY Podcast. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, take a moment to leave us a review wherever you listen to this podcast, and please subscribe so you never miss what's next. Next week, Chris and Matt are sitting down with Kirk Linehan, founding partner at RETSY. Here's a sneak preview.
He was friends with a couple of the Suns players back at that time in 2004. When the Suns were really good, they had Steve Nash and Boris and Leandro and all those guys. So when I moved back in 2008, my friend still was involved and knew some of those guys, and Boris Diaw being one of them. And so we sold Boris's house.